Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the stars through the main view screen. His exploration fleet had been traveling through space for 3 months, looking for new worlds and new life forms. Today felt different, though. The sensors were picking up something big heading their way. "Captain, we have multiple ships approaching," said Lieutenant Danny Cruz from his station. "They are huge, sir. Much bigger than our ships." Jake nodded and straightened his uniform. "Put it on screen, Danny." The view screen changed to show 5 massive alien ships moving toward them. The ships were dark and covered with sharp spikes. They looked like they were built to scare people. Jake had never seen anything like them before. "This is Admiral Zefkala of the Galactic Empire." A voice boomed through the speakers. The voice was deep and tried to sound very important. "You primitive vessels have entered Imperial space without permission. You will surrender immediately or face destruction." Commander Lisa Parker, who was standing next to Jake, made a small noise. It sounded like she was trying not to laugh. Jake looked at her with surprise. "Your ships are pathetic," the alien voice continued. "Your technology is weak. You cannot hope to match the mighty power of the Galactic Empire. Surrender now, and we might let you live as our slaves." Lisa put her hand over her mouth, but a small giggle escaped. The sound was quiet, but in the silent bridge, everyone heard it. Danny Cruz looked over at her, and his lips started to twitch. He was trying very hard not to smile. "We are the rulers of this galaxy," Admiral Zefkala went on. "Every species bows before our superior might. Your primitive race will learn to fear us, just like all the others." This time Lisa couldn't help herself. She started giggling. Not loud, but enough that the alien could probably hear it through the open communication channel. Jake stared at her in shock. "Lisa, what are you doing?" Jake whispered. "I'm sorry, Captain," Lisa said, still trying to control her laughter. "But did you hear what he just said? Superior might? Look at those ships." Jake looked back at the view screen. The alien ships did look big and scary, but now that Lisa mentioned it, something seemed off about them. The weapons looked old. The whole design seemed clunky and inefficient. Navigation Officer Amy Walsh turned around from her station. "Captain, I've been scanning their ships. Their technology is really old. Like, really, really old." "How old?" Jake asked. "About 200 years behind us, sir," Amy said. "Maybe more." Danny Cruz snorted with laughter. He quickly covered his mouth, but it was too late. The sound carried through the comm system. "What is that noise?" Admiral Zefkala demanded. "Are you laughing at the Galactic Empire?" No, Jake said quickly, trying to sound serious. But behind him, his crew was starting to lose control. Amy was shaking with silent laughter. Danny had tears in his eyes from trying not to laugh out loud. Even the normally serious Chief Engineer Pete Johnson was grinning widely. "You dare mock the Empire?" the alien admiral shouted. "No species has ever shown such disrespect. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have destroyed entire civilizations. With that technology," Pete Johnson called out, and then burst into loud laughter. "My grandmother had better weapons than that." The whole bridge erupted. Lisa was laughing so hard she had to sit down. Danny was making snorting noises. Amy was wiping tears from her eyes. Even Jake found himself starting to smile. "This is impossible." Admiral Zefkala yelled. "You should be trembling in fear. You should be begging for mercy. Why are you making those horrible sounds?" "I'm sorry," Jake said, trying to get control of his crew and himself. "We don't mean to be rude. It's just that your ships look like something from our old history books." "Our old history books," Lisa added between giggles. "Silence," the alien roared. "You will show proper respect to your betters. We are the masters of space. We are the lords of the galaxy." This made everyone laugh even harder. The idea that these aliens with their ancient ships thought they were the masters of anything was just too funny. Pete Johnson was laughing so hard he fell off his chair. Danny was making choking sounds as he tried to breathe and laugh at the same time. "What is wrong with you creatures?" Admiral Zefkala demanded. "Why do you make these strange noises when faced with certain death?" Jake wiped his eyes and tried to compose himself. "Admiral, we're not trying to be disrespectful. We're just explorers. We came in peace. But your threats are just so old-fashioned, Lisa finished, starting to giggle again. The communication channel went quiet for a long moment. Then Admiral Zeph Kalla spoke again, and his voice sounded confused and angry. You will regret this insult. Prepare to face the full might of the Imperial fleet. Admiral Zeph Kalla was not happy. In all his years commanding Imperial fleets, no species had ever laughed at him. They usually begged for mercy or tried to run away. These strange creatures just kept making those awful giggling sounds. Bring up the destroyer, he ordered his crew, and call in the Shadow Wing escorts. These primitives need to see real Imperial power. On the USS Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison watched as more alien ships appeared on the screen. The new ship was much bigger than the others. It was covered in even more spikes and had glowing red lights all over it. 3 smaller ships flew alongside it. "Oh, wow," said Amy Walsh, looking at her scanner readings. "Captain, you need to see this." "What is it, Amy?" Jake asked. "Their big ship is really old. I mean really, really old. It's like they took a ship from our museums and tried to make it scary by adding spikes to it." Chief Engineer Pete Johnson looked up from his station. "Captain, can I see those readings?" Amy sent the information to Pete's screen. He looked at it for a few seconds, then started laughing so hard he couldn't breathe. "Pete, what's so funny?" Commander Lisa Parker asked. "They're weapons," Pete said between laughs. "They're using plasma cannon from the Stone Age. We stopped using those things 50 years ago because they were too weak." "This is Admiral Zeph Kalla, the Imperial Destroyer Bloodfang." The alien voice came through the speakers again. "You now face the most powerful warship in the galaxy. Its weapons can destroy entire planets. Its shields cannot be broken. Surrender now or become space dust." The whole bridge crew looked at each other and burst into laughter again. Even Jake couldn't help smiling this time. "Planets?" Danny Cruz asked. "With those pulp guns?" "Captain, my kid brother has better weapons in his video games." "And look at those shields," Amy added, pointing at her screen. "They are flickering like a broken light bulb. One good hit and they'd probably collapse." Admiral Zeph Kalla's voice came through again, sounding more angry. "Why do you continue making those sounds? Do you not understand that you are about to die?" Jake tried to stop laughing long enough to answer. "Admiral, we're not trying to insult you. It's just that your technology is very old." "Old?" The alien roared. "This is the newest Imperial technology. These ships were built in the finest shipyards in the galaxy." "When?" Pete Johnson called out. 200 years ago." Lisa Parker was looking at the tactical display. "Captain, their formation is all wrong too. They are flying in a straight line like sitting ducks. Any first-year pilot could outmaneuver them." "Their engine signatures are hilarious," Amy added. "They are so inefficient they are probably burning 10 times more fuel than they need to." Admiral Zeph Kalla seemed to hear this. "Impossible. Imperial engines are the most advanced in the galaxy. Our scientists spent decades perfecting them." "Decades to make them worse, apparently," Danny muttered, which made everyone laugh harder. "You dare question Imperial science?" The alien admiral shouted. "We have conquered countless worlds with these ships. We have brought order to chaos. We are the masters of space warfare." "With those ships?" Pete asked, wiping tear from his eyes. "How? Did the other species not have any weapons at all?" Jake was starting to understand something. "Admiral, what kind of technology did the species you conquered have?" "They were primitives. They used crude rockets and metal bullets. They had no shields, no energy weapons. They were nothing compared to Imperial might." The bridge went quiet for a moment as this sank in. Then Lisa started giggling again. "Oh my goodness," she said. "They've been picking on species that were even more behind than they are. No wonder they think they're advanced. It's like a guy with a musket thinking he's the best warrior in the world because he's only fought people with sticks," Amy said. Admiral Zeph Kalla was getting more frustrated. "What are muskets? What are sticks? Why do you speak in riddles?" "Admiral," Jake said, trying to be diplomatic, "how long has it been since your empire discovered new technology?" "We perfected our technology thousands of years ago. There was no need for improvement. Imperial science achieved perfection. This made everyone laugh even harder. The idea that any technology was perfect and couldn't be improved was absurd to the humans. Thousands of years. Pete gasped. No wonder your ships look like antiques. They are not antiques. Admiral Zethkala screamed. They are instruments of perfect destruction. Observe. The alien ships powered up their weapons. Energy beams shot toward the human ships. The humans watched as the beams hit their shields and did absolutely nothing. Was that supposed to hurt? Danny asked. I felt a slight vibration, Amy reported, like someone tapping on the hull with their finger. Admiral Zethkala's voice came through, sounding shocked. Impossible. Those were full-power plasma bursts. They should have vaporized your primitive vessels. Admiral, Jake said gently, I think we need to have a talk. Admiral Zethkala was very confused. His best weapons had done nothing to the human ships. Nothing at all. He stared at his tactical screen, trying to understand what had happened. Sir, his weapons officer said nervously, the plasma cannons fired at full power. The humans should be dead. I can see that they are not dead. Admiral Zethkala snapped. Why are they still there? Why are they still making those horrible laughing sounds? On the USS Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison was trying to calm his crew down. They were laughing so hard that some of them couldn't do their jobs properly. Okay, everyone, Jake said, let's try to be professional here. Professional? Commander Lisa Parker gasped. Captain, they just tried to destroy us with weapons that couldn't hurt a soap bubble. Their plasma beams were weaker than our emergency lighting system, Chief Engineer Pete Johnson added, starting to laugh again. The communication channel crackled to life. Admiral Zethkala's voice sounded strained. Humans, you will come with us to the Imperial capital. You will face judgment before the Galactic Council for your crimes against the Empire. What crimes? Jake asked, genuinely curious. You have shown disrespect to Imperial authority. You have mocked the Empire's power. You have refused to surrender when commanded. These are serious offenses. Dr. Ellen Brooks, the fleet scientist, looked up from her station. Captain, did he just say we're criminal for laughing? I think so, Jake replied. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, Dr. Brooks said, and started giggling. She was normally very serious, so when she laughed, it made everyone else laugh even harder. We will escort you to the capital world, Admiral Zethkala announced. Do not try to escape. Our ships are faster than yours. Navigation Officer Amy Walsh checked her readings. Captain, their top speed is about half of ours. If we wanted to leave, we could be gone before they knew we were moving. Don't tell him that, Communications Officer Ryan Kelly whispered, but he was smiling as he said it. Jake thought for a moment. He was curious about this galactic empire and their capital world. It might be interesting to see what they were all about. Admiral, we'll come with you, Jake said, but only because we want to meet your Galactic Council. We're explorers. We like meeting new people. You have no choice in the matter. Admiral Zethkala replied, You are our prisoners. Okay, Jake said simply, which seemed to confuse the alien even more. The journey to the Imperial capital took 2 days. During that time, the humans got to see more of the Empire's technology. Every new thing they saw made them smile or laugh. The Empire's communication systems were so old that they used actual radio waves. The humans had stopped using radio for space travel decades ago. Their navigation computers were huge and slow. Their life support systems made weird noises that sounded like someone was strangling a cat. Dr. Brooks spent the whole trip studying the alien ships through her scanners. This is amazing, she told Jake. It's like finding a civilization that never learned how to make fire, but they think matches are the greatest technology in the universe. Don't let them hear you say that, Jake warned, but he was smiling too. Lieutenant Sam Carter was looking at the tactical displays. Captain, their escorts keep bumping into each other. I think their pilots can't see very well out of those ships. The spikes probably block their view, Amy suggested. Why would anyone put spikes on a spaceship anyway? Ryan asked. They don't make it go faster or fight better. They just make it look scary. Maybe that's the point, Dr. Brooks said. If you can't actually fight well, you have to look scary instead. When they finally reached the Imperial capital world, the humans were impressed despite themselves. The planet was covered with huge cities that stretched up into the sky. Massive space stations orbited the world like metal moons. Thousands of ships moved back and forth between the planet and the stations. Now that's impressive, Jake admitted. The construction is amazing, Pete Johnson agreed. Look at the size of those buildings. But as they got closer, Dr. Brooks started noticing problems. Captain, look at the way those space stations are connected. They're using cable systems that we stopped using 50 years ago. And look at the ships, Amy added. They are all the same design. No variety at all. It's like they built one type of ship and never tried to improve it. The buildings are held together with what looks like metal bands, Pete observed. That's not very efficient. One good earthquake and those cities would fall down. Admiral Zethkalla's voice came through the speakers. Behold the glory of the Imperial capital. This is the center of galactic civilization. Here you will learn to respect the power of the Empire. The humans looked at the massive but poorly built structures around them. Dr. Brooks shook her head. It's like they built everything to look impressive from far away, she said. But up close, it's all held together with tape and good luck. Jake sighed. This is going to be interesting. The Galactic Council chambers were huge. Captain Jake Morrison had never seen a room so big. Hundreds of different alien species sat in rows that went up to the ceiling. They all looked very serious and important. At the front of the room sat the judges. There were 12 of them, each from a different alien race. In the center sat the chief judge, a tall creature with purple skin and 4 arms. Bringing the accused, the chief judge announced in a deep voice. Jake and his crew were led to a small platform in the middle of the room. All around them, aliens stared down at them. Some looked curious. Others looked angry. A few looked scared. You humans stand accused of serious crimes against the Galactic Empire, the chief judge said. How do you plead? Before Jake could answer, a tall alien in fancy robes stood up. This was Prosecutor Veltarin. He had prepared for this trial for weeks. Your honors, Prosecutor Veltarin began. These creatures have committed terrible crimes. First, they failed to show proper fear when confronted by Imperial ships. Commander Lisa Parker made a small snorting sound. She quickly covered her mouth, but several aliens heard her. Second, the prosecutor continued, they laughed during official Imperial communications. This is a grave insult to our authority. Dr. Ellen Brooks started to smile. The idea that laughing was a crime seemed silly to her. Third, they refused to acknowledge Imperial superiority even when shown the might of our greatest warships. This time, Chief Engineer Pete Johnson couldn't help himself. He let out a small chuckle. The sound echoed in the quiet chamber. And finally, Prosecutor Veltarin said, raising his voice, they continue to show disrespect even now in the sacred hall of justice. Jake looked around at his crew. Amy Walsh was biting her lip to keep from smiling. Communications Officer Ryan Kelly had his hand over his mouth. Lieutenant Sam Carter was staring at the floor, his shoulders shaking slightly. These are very serious charges, the chief judge said. How do you answer them? Jake's lawyer was Janet Price, a former prosecutor who had joined the exploration fleet. She stood up slowly, trying to look serious. Your honors, Janet began, my clients are not guilty of any real crimes. They have simply been amused. Amused? Prosecutor Veltarin shouted. They mock the Empire. They laugh at our power. This is unacceptable. But what law says people cannot laugh? Janet asked. The prosecutor looked confused. It is obvious. No one laughs at the Empire. That doesn't make it illegal, Janet replied. Besides, my clients thought this was all a joke. A joke? The chief judge asked. Yes, Your Honor, Janet said. She was starting to smile now, too. They thought the Imperial ships were fake. They thought this was all some kind of historical show. The courtroom began to buzz with confused voices. Many of the aliens had never heard anyone suggest that Imperial technology might be fake. Impossible. Admiral Zethkalla stood up from the audience. Our ships are the finest in the galaxy. Janet walked over to a table where she had placed some human equipment. She picked up a small device that looked like a flashlight. "Your Honors, this is a standard human scanner," she said. "It's the kind of thing our children use for school projects." She pointed it at Admiral Zethkaller's uniform and pressed a button. Suddenly, detailed information about the Admiral appeared on screens around the courtroom. The scanner showed his heart rate, his body temperature, what he had eaten for breakfast, and even what metals his uniform was made from. The aliens in the courtroom gasped. Their best medical scanners couldn't do half of what this simple human device had just done. "This is basic human technology," Janet explained. "We have thousands of devices like this. When we saw your ships, we thought they were museum pieces. We thought someone was playing a prank on us." Chief Science Officer Ben Clark stood up. "Your Honors, we didn't mean to be rude. We honestly thought this was all fake. Your technology is so far behind ours that we couldn't believe it was real." "Behind?" Prosecutor Veltarin sputtered. "Imperial technology is the most advanced in the galaxy." "Not really," Ben said gently. "Your plasma weapons are about 200 years old by our standards. Your shields use technology we stopped using when my grandfather was young. Your computers are slower than the toys we give to small children." The courtroom erupted in noise. Aliens were talking loudly to each other in dozens of different languages. Some sounded angry. Others sounded confused. A few even sounded like they were starting to laugh. "Order!" the chief judge shouted. "Order in the court." But the damage was done. The idea that the mighty Galactic Empire was actually using ancient technology was spreading through the room like wildfire. "Prove it," Admiral Zethkaller demanded. "Show us a superior human technology." Pete Johnson grinned. "Are you sure? You might not like what you see." "Show us," the Admiral insisted. Pete pulled out a small tool from his belt. It looked like a simple wrench. He walked over to a broken Imperial communication device that had been sitting in the corner of the courtroom for months. In less than 2 minutes, Pete had completely rebuilt the device. But now it worked better than it ever had before. It was faster, clearer, and used half as much power. The courtroom fell silent. Every alien was staring at the rebuilt device. "That's impossible," Prosecutor Veltarin whispered. "That's just Tuesday for us," Pete replied with a smile. The courtroom was completely silent. Every alien was staring at the communication device that Chief Engineer Pete Johnson had just rebuilt. It was working better than any Imperial technology they had ever seen. Dr. Ellen Brooks stood up slowly. She was still smiling, but now her smile looked sad instead of amused. "Your Honors," she said gently, "I think we need to talk about what we discovered about your empire." "What do you mean?" the Chief Judge asked. His forearms were trembling slightly. Dr. Brooks walked to the center of the room. "We've been studying your technology and your society for the past few days. We wanted to understand how your empire works." She pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Holographic images appeared in the air above the courtroom. The images showed charts and graphs that were easy to understand. "This is your technological development over the past 1,000 years," Dr. Brooks explained. The chart showed a line that went up for a while, then became completely flat. "You stopped advancing about 800 years ago." Prosecutor Veltarin jumped up. "That's because we achieved perfection. There was no need for further development." "That's what we thought you might say," Dr. Brooks replied. "But look at this." She pressed another button. New images appeared showing the species that the Empire had conquered. "Every species you defeated had technology that was even older than yours," she said. "You never fought anyone who could actually challenge you. You only picked on civilizations that were using stone tools and simple machines." Admiral Zethkaller stood up angrily. "We conquered them because we were superior." "You conquered them because they couldn't fight back," Chief Science Officer Ben Clark said. "It's like a grown man beating up children and then thinking he's the strongest person in the world." The aliens in the courtroom started talking loudly again. Many of them looked upset. Some looked confused. Others looked angry. "This is not possible," one of the judges said. "The Empire has ruled for thousands of years. We must be the strongest." Dr. Brooks looked at the judge with pity. "You're not weak," she said kindly. "You're just stuck. You stopped trying to improve because you thought you were already the best." She showed more images. These ones showed human technology from different time periods. This is human technology from 500 years ago, she said. Even then, it was better than what you use now. The images showed old human machines that looked much more advanced than current Imperial technology. This is human technology from 100 years ago. The new images made the Imperial aliens gasp. The machines looked like magic to them. And this is what we use today. The final images showed technology so advanced that most of the aliens couldn't even understand what they were looking at. Captain Jake Morrison stood up. "We didn't come here to make you feel bad," he said. "We came to explore and make friends. But when we saw your ships, we thought someone was playing a joke on us." "Your ships look like something from our old movies," Commander Lisa Parker added. "Movies about what people thought the future would look like, made by people who didn't know very much about technology." "It's not your fault," Navigation Officer Amy Walsh said. "You just got comfortable. You stopped asking questions. You stopped trying new things." One of the alien judges, a small creature with big eyes, spoke up. "Are you saying that every species in our empire could have better technology than us?" "If they were allowed to develop it, yes," Dr. Brooks answered. "But you've been keeping them down. You've been telling them that your way is the only way." The courtroom erupted in chaos. Aliens were shouting at each other in dozens of languages. Some were angry at the humans. Others were angry at the Empire. Many just looked scared and confused. "This changes everything," one alien yelled. "The Empire has been lying to us," shouted another. "How many other species out there are more advanced than us?" asked a third. Admiral Zethkala was turning purple with rage. "Lies! All lies! The Empire is supreme. We are the masters of the galaxy." "Admiral," Jake said quietly, "look around you. Look at your own people. They are starting to understand the truth." Indeed, many of the Imperial citizens in the courtroom were looking at the technology with new eyes. They were seeing the patches and repairs that had been painted over. They were noticing how clunky and inefficient everything was. "We could help you," Dr. Brooks offered. "We could share our knowledge. We could help your people learn and grow." "We don't need your help." Admiral Zethkala screamed. "The Empire will crush you. We will show you true power." But his words sounded empty now. Everyone in the room had seen what human technology could do. They had seen how easily Pete had improved their equipment. They knew that the Empire's threats were meaningless. "Admiral," Jake said sadly, "you can't threaten us with weapons that can't hurt us. You can't scare us with ships that are slower than ours. And you can't rule people who know the truth." The chief judge looked very old and tired suddenly. "What happens now?" he asked. "That's up to you," Jake replied. "You can keep pretending that you're the strongest, or you can start learning how to be better." Around the courtroom, aliens were starting to leave. Many of them were talking excitedly about the possibilities. For the first time in centuries, they were thinking about the future instead of just accepting the present. The great and terrible Galactic Empire was beginning to crumble, not from war, but from the simple truth that they were not as special as they thought they were. 3 days after the trial, Admiral Zethkala was in his command room, staring at report from across the Empire. The news was bad, very bad. 17 star systems had declared independence from the Empire. 43 planets had stopped sending tribute payments. 12 species had demanded meetings with the humans. And worst of all, his own officers were starting to ask uncomfortable questions. "Sir," his aide said nervously, "the High Command wants to speak with you." Admiral Zethkala straightened his uniform and walked to the communication chamber. On the screen appeared 5 of the Empire's most powerful leaders. They did not look happy. "Admiral," said High Commander Vexthal, a massive creature with 6 eyes, "explain to us how a handful of primitive humans had destroyed 800 years of Imperial authority in 3 days." "They are not primitive, sir," Admiral Zethkala admitted reluctantly. "Their technology is advanced." "How advanced?" asked another commander. "Very advanced, sir. Much more than ours." The High Command fell silent for a long moment. Finally, High Commander Vexthal spoke. "Then we will destroy them," he said simply. "Gather the Imperial fleet. All of it. We will show these humans what happens when someone challenges the Empire." Sir, I don't think that's wise, Admiral Zefkala said. They're weapons. Are you a coward, Admiral? High Commander Vexthal interrupted. The Empire has never lost a war. We will not start now. Meanwhile, on the USS Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison was reading reports from his communications officer, Ryan Kelly. Captain, we're getting messages from all over the galaxy, Ryan said. Species want to talk to us. They want to learn about our technology. Some are asking for help breaking away from the Empire. And Jake asked, the Empire is mobilizing their entire fleet. They are calling every ship from every sector. They want to fight us. Jake sighed and rubbed his forehead. How many ships? About 10,000, sir. Commander Lisa Parker, who was listening nearby, started giggling again. 10,000 of those rust buckets. What are they going to do? Ram us? Lisa, this is serious, Jake said, but he was fighting back a smile too. People could get hurt. Not us, Chief Engineer Pete Johnson called out from his station. Captain, the entire fleet couldn't scratch the paint on our smallest ship. Dr. Ellen Brooks looked up from her research. Captain, I've been studying their military tactics. They haven't changed their strategy in 400 years. They just fly straight at their enemies and shoot until something dies. That worked fine when they were fighting people with spears, Navigation Officer Amy Walsh added. But against us. Jake thought for a moment. Send a message to Admiral Zefkala. Tell him we don't want to fight. We're explorers, not warriors. When Admiral Zefkala received the message, he laughed bitterly. They think they can avoid their fate by claiming to be peaceful. All species claim to be peaceful when they face the Imperial fleet. The Imperial fleet gathered in space near the human exploration ships. It was an impressive sight. 10,000 warships of various sizes, all bristling with weapons. They had conquered hundreds of worlds with these ships. But the humans were not impressed. In fact, when the Imperial fleet arrived, the human crews were taking breaks to watch them through the viewports like they were watching parade. Look at that formation, Lieutenant Sam Carter said, pointing out the window. They are bunched up so tight they could barely move if they wanted to. And they are all facing the same direction, Amy observed. What if we just went around them? Captain Jake Morrison opened a communication channel to the Imperial fleet. Admiral Zefkala, this is Captain Morrison. Please reconsider this course of action. We don't want anyone to get hurt. The time for talk is over. Human. Admiral Zefkala replied, You have insulted the Empire for the last time. Today you will learn what happens to those who defy Imperial will. Admiral, please, Jake began. Attack! Admiral Zefkala screamed. 10,000 Imperial ships opened fire at once. The space between the fleets lit up with thousands of energy beams, plasma bolts, and missile trails. It was the largest display of firepower in Imperial history. When the light faded, the human ships were still there, completely undamaged. Not even a scorch mark. Was that it? Communications Officer Ryan Kelly asked. I think so, Jake replied. Our shields didn't even register the hits. In human space, near Earth, Captain Maria Santos was sitting in her patrol ship, the UES Wanderer. She was reading a book and drinking coffee when her communication system beeped. Captain Santos, came the voice of Earth Command. We have a situation. An alien fleet has declared war on humanity. They are heading towards Sector 7. Captain Santos looked up from her book with mild interest. How many ships? 10,000. 10,000. Captain Santos raised an eyebrow. That seems like a lot. What kind of weapons do they have? Primitive plasma cannons and energy shields. Our analysis suggests their technology is about 200 years behind ours. Captain Santos took a sip of her coffee and turned a page in her book. I'll handle it. Shouldn't we send a fleet? 10,000 ships. I said I'll handle it. Captain Santos replied calmly. It shouldn't take long. When the Imperial fleet arrived in human space, they expected to find defenseless planets and easy targets. Instead, they found Captain Santos's ship waiting for them. One ship, against 10,000. Admiral Zefkala stared at his screen in disbelief. Is this a joke? They send one ship to fight our entire fleet. Sir, his tactical officer said nervously, their ship is very small. We could destroy it easily. Then do it. Admiral Zethkala ordered. The Imperial fleet opened fire again. Thousands of weapons fired at the tiny human patrol ship. Captain Santos didn't even look up from her book. Her ship's automated defense systems activated, and every single Imperial shot was either deflected or absorbed harmlessly. "Attention, alien fleet," Captain Santos said into her communicator, still reading. "This is Captain Santos of the UES Wanderer. You are in human space without permission. Please turn around and go home." "Never." Admiral Zethkala shouted. "We are the Imperial fleet. We do not retreat." "Okay," Captain Santos said with a shrug, "but don't say I didn't warn you." She pressed a single button on her console, then went back to reading her book. The button that Captain Maria Santos pressed was labeled Disable Fleet. It was a standard feature on all human patrol ships, designed for emergencies. What happened next became legendary throughout the galaxy. Every single Imperial ship suddenly stopped working. Their engines shut down. Their weapons powered off. Their lights went out. Even their life support systems switched to emergency backup mode. 10,000 warships, the pride of the Galactic Empire, were floating helplessly in space like broken toys. Admiral Zethkala stared at his dark control panels in shock. What happened? What did they do to us? His engineers ran around frantically, trying to restart their systems. Nothing worked. Every piece of technology on every Imperial ship had simply stopped functioning. Captain Santos finally looked up from her book. "Oh, that's inconvenient," she said mildly. "I hope you have good emergency life support systems." She opened a communication channel to the Imperial fleet. "Attention Imperial ships, this is Captain Santos. Your vessels have been safely disabled. Your crews are in no danger, but your ships cannot move or fight. Would you like me to call for rescue ships?" "What did you do?" Admiral Zethkala demanded. "I use an electronic warfare pulse," Captain Santos explained patiently. "It's designed to safely shut down hostile ships without hurting anyone. We use it for space pirates and smugglers mostly." "Impossible. Our ships are shielded against electronic attacks." Captain Santos chuckled. "Your shields are designed to stop electronic attacks from your era. This pulse is about 200 years more advanced than anything you've seen before." She took another sip of her coffee and turned another page in her book. Back at the Imperial capital, the news of the fleet's defeat spread quickly. But instead of causing panic, something unexpected happened. Many species began to laugh. Not cool laughter like humans had done when they first met the Empire. This was the laughter of relief. The laughter of people who had been afraid for so long that they had forgotten what it felt like to be free. Within hours, half the Empire had declared independence. Species that had been conquered centuries ago suddenly remembered that they didn't have to be afraid anymore. Captain Jake Morrison and his crew watched the collapse of the Empire from the Imperial capital. They weren't celebrating. Instead, they looked sad. "I feel bad for them," Dr. Ellenbrook said, watching Admiral Zethkala argue with his remaining officers. "They built their entire identity around being the strongest. Now they don't know who they are." "It's not their fault," Commander Lisa Parker added. "They just got stuck in the past." Jake made a decision. He walked over to where Admiral Zethkala was sitting alone, looking defeated. "Admiral," Jake said gently, "this doesn't have to be the end." Admiral Zethkala looked up with tired eyes. "My empire is gone. My ships are disabled. My authority is destroyed. How is this not the end?" "Because you can start something new," Jake replied. "Something better." "What do you mean?" Jake sat down next to the alien admiral. "Your empire was built on fear and conquest, but you could build something new based on cooperation and friendship. Why would you help us?" Admiral Zethkala asked. "We tried to destroy you." "Because that's what friends do," Jake said simply. "They help each other." Over the following months, Jake and his crew worked with a former Imperial species to create something new. They called it the Galactic Cooperative. Instead of one species ruling over others, every species had an equal voice. Instead of forcing everyone to use the same old technology, they shared new ideas freely. Instead of conquering planets, they explored them together. Admiral Zeph Kalla, his pride humble but his intelligence intact, became one of the cooperative's first leaders. He learned to laugh at his own mistakes instead of making others fear them. "You know," he told Jake one day, "your people's laughter was the first honest thing anyone had said to the Empire in 1,000 years." "How so?" Jake asked. "Everyone else was too scared to tell us the truth. They pretended we were great when we were just bullies with old weapons. You laughed because what we were doing was ridiculous." "It was a little ridiculous," Jake admitted with a smile. "More than a little," Admiral Zeph Kalla replied, and for the first time in his life, he laughed at himself. Dr. Brooke set up schools throughout the former empire, teaching alien species about human technology and science. But more importantly, she taught them how to think for themselves and ask questions. Chief Engineer Pete Johnson helped rebuild alien ships and cities, making them more efficient and comfortable. He enjoyed the work, especially when young aliens asked him how things worked. Captain Santos became something of a legend. Songs were written about the human who defeated 10,000 ships while reading a book. She found this embarrassing but amusing. "I was just doing my job," she always said when people asked about it. Besides, it was a really good book. The galaxy was a different place now. Instead of one empire ruling through fear, hundreds of species worked together through friendship. Technology advanced rapidly as species shared their knowledge freely. And throughout it all, humans were known as a species that had laughed a tyrannical empire out of existence and replaced it with something better. Captain Jake Morrison wrote in his final log entry, "We came to the stars looking for new friends and new knowledge. We found both, in the most unexpected way. Sometimes the best weapon against tyranny isn't a bigger gun or a stronger army. Sometimes it's just a courage to laugh at bullies and show them a better way." The humans never stopped exploring. They never stopped learning. And they never stopped laughing when they encountered something absurd. After all, the universe was a very funny place, full of very serious people who took themselves too seriously. And sometimes, laughter really was the best medicine.